Hey everybody, it's Michael with Bay Area Hiking Guides. Give me that information, giving you that knowledge to hike with confidence. And today we're going to be talking about edibles and medicinal plants. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to be talking about edibles and medicinal plants that you might see on the trail, and I'm going to have Tyler go through a particular plant with you guys. We've actually brought this up in a previous video that we did, the What's Blooming Now, and I'm not going to say what it is. I'm going to have Tyler do that for you. But it's a real awesome plant. It usually grows in more rocky, sun-exposed areas, a little higher in the elevation, but you can find it lower elevation as well. I've had several times where, you know, nature proves you wrong, and you end up finding this stuff in shadier environments. So I'm going to have Tyler go through this with you guys. It's extremely important that you guys just don't go around eating anything and grabbing stuff and eating it, because you never know. And this particular plant actually looks like poison hemlock. It's kind of similar, so you don't want to just grab anything. It's key to have an expert go out there with you guys, show it so you know that you're 100% confident in what it is before you go around eating stuff up. But all right, we're going to go on to Tyler.
Thanks, Michael. It is always great to be back with you guys talking about plants. And I just want to point out a couple of really interesting edible medicinal plants that you will encounter on your hikes. Now, we happen today to be in a city park, or next to one. We're in what I call the butterfly garden, or we'll be there in a second. That's part of the Walnut Creek Walk. And I want to give a little shout out to the city of Walnut Creek for creating this creek walk with signage, with gardens and landscaping alongside the creek that runs right through the middle of downtown Walnut Creek. So if you don't have time to get out there on those hikes, at least come down here, follow the little signs. They have a beautiful great white egret on the sign, and they're Walnut Creek saying to its citizens, this creek is important. We want you to understand how it fits into the ecology around here, and we want you to learn it and take care of it. So this little section of the park on the other side of the creek from the Civic Park area is a real example of that kind of care for nature that the city has done. And they've planted it with 100% California natives. So you're going to see all these plants out on your hikes. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my friend Patrice Hanlon, who maintains this butterfly garden with a series of wonderful volunteers that she manages. And they do such a great job making it so beautiful. You'll see when we stop by there in a minute. So the first plant I want to point out is good old yarrow, and this stem is already falling off, so I'm going to remove it because it was broken. Now, I know you guys have already learned how to identify this if you're fans of Bay Area Hiking Guide from a previous video, but I want to talk a little bit about an interesting medicinal property that it has. The botanical name, Achillea millefolium. And that genus name, Achillea, is from Achilles, the dude from the famous Greek stories like the Iliad and the Aeneid. So what happened was, supposedly, because this plant is also native to Europe, Achilles used this plant to treat the wounds of his men in the Trojan War. Whether he did or not, the botanists thought that was a cool story, so they gave it that name, Achillea, as the genus name. Now the species name is millefolium, which just means 1,000 leaves, because if you look at the leaves, they have a really fine feathery pattern with tiny little leaflets, and those leaves are really the medicinal part of the plant that we're most interested in. It does have this wonderful flower cluster which forms a kind of a platform. You can buy versions for your garden that are also colored. Well, the ones we typically see in the wild are white, but you can get pink ones and red ones. And it makes this sort of flat platform full of all sorts of tiny little flowers, which is a shape that butterflies in particular love, because they'll sit on top of that flower cluster and work all the little flowers. So plant yarrow in your garden for the flowers. But if you're hiking, there's a medicinal property that is kind of interesting, and that is that these leaves have the ability to stop the flow of blood, right? They're sort of like a styptic pencil, if I can date myself, for anybody old enough to A, shave with a straight razor, and B, know what a styptic pencil is. If you cut yourself, you would kind of daub the little pencil on there to stop the bleeding. A lot of people use toilet paper now. Well, if you're out on the trail, you could use some yarrow leaves. But what you have to do is chew them a little bit, right? Make a little bolus in your mouth. Tastes terrible, kind of bitter. I promise you, not toxic. You're not going to die. Then you take that back out of your mouth. Okay, a little gross, but come on, we're hiking. And here's your little cut that you have on your hand, and you kind of pack that little bit of chewed up yarrow leaf onto your hand. And if you have kids, they'll be like, "Ooh, that's gross," and then they'll be fascinated, right? So what you're doing there is you're just using the properties of the yarrow leaf to help stop the blood flow. And that is how it got its name, right? Achilles supposedly did that. So let me then throw in, as we finish with yarrow, my standard disclaimer about edible and medicinal plants. You do not know exactly how to use an edible or medicinal plant because you watched one guy on YouTube, or even because you watched 2 or 3 guys on YouTube. You absolutely should not go hiking along and say, "Oh, I think that's the one the guy was talking about," and stick it in your mouth. So yeah, I'm giving you kind of an introduction to the idea that these plants have edible medicinal values. But to really know what you're doing, you need to go out on the trail with somebody who has a lot of experience with these plants and can teach you how to really positively identify them before you mess around with any medicinal properties of these plants. You know, there are a number of lookalikes. There are plants that look very similar to each other, and one of them is a wonderful, useful plant, and the other one is toxic and going to give you a stomach ache at best, or in a few cases, a lot worse than that. So, do not assume that you're an expert after I have given this information to you. Go out and keep learning how to identify the plants, find books, talk to people, really learn it before you start getting into it. That said, yarrow, Achillea millefolium, a very cool native plant.
Thank you so much. It was so great to have Tyler on this video. He's got a few more that he's going to be on, and then a bunch more that we have some of these ideas coming through the summer and then on to hopefully late fall. So we had a few more videos that are going to come out that he's in. So I can't wait to have you guys get such great information and knowledge that we have from Tyler. It's just fantastic to have him on the channel. It's great having Beth too. She's good too. Don't get me wrong there. But to have both of these brains going at it, talking about certain things. He's such an informative guy. Well-knowledged, well-educated in history, plants, everything. It's like sitting around a wizard. I mean, he is the Gandalf of, you know, the Lord of the Rings here to what we have now. Tyler's such a great guy. I love Tyler. If you got some other stuff that you'd like to talk about, leave a comment down below. Hey, why not? Why not? And also to like, thumbs up our videos. Really appreciate it. It does the channel a whole lot of good. Yeah, Google likes that stuff. So like it just like you do Facebook. So hit the little thumb there, bing, and then that goes up, and it's all good. Hit the bell too, okay? Hit the bell so you get those notifications. They tell you what's going on. You're like, hey, I can keep up with Barry hiking guides. I'm staying cool as I'm sitting in water.